Yo, appreciate everybody for joining us back here in the locker room, episode number 75. It would only make perfect sense if it was episode 76. I guess I can explain that a little bit more later. What you're watching right now is Take the podcast, where basketball lives, is what we like to call it. Make sure that you go and subscribe anywhere that you find your favorite podcast, in addition to following along on all social media platforms at Tate Take Hoops, TATESTAKEHOOPS. So I do see you out there. If you are watching us, where we are streaming live on Periscope as well as on Twitch, on Facebook, on YouTube, all of that good stuff. So this is our Hawk Talk segment, particularly where it's kind of like a round table essentially about the Atlanta Hawks, how they've been doing, maybe some concerns, some strengths, some weaknesses, the directions that they're trending, and so forth. And without further ado, I want to make sure that I do this and do this correctly and properly. Please forgive me in advance in the event that there is a little bit of a lag to an extent, as I'm kind of doing some different things remotely and just kind of working through the process. So please be patient with me, please, and thank you. But before anything else, I want to make sure I bring in my very talented guest, man. This is my dude right here, man. Terrell Thomas. There you go. There go the homie, man. Wanted to make sure I get him taken care of. Terrell Thomas, who is content creator, sports and entertainment reporter as well. Make sure that you check him out on social media and things like that. Matter of fact, appreciate you, T, man, for joining me. And I know you've had some opportunities to get down there to State Farm Arena, check out the teams and so forth, since they've reopened it to some of the media members and whatnot. Definitely want to hear about some of your experiences with that so far, but not before you fill the folks in on where they can find you on social media and so forth.
First and foremost, thank you very much for having me. It's always a pleasure to sit down and chat with you, talk basketball, talk the Hawks. You can check me out on social media at Eldorado2452. You can also check out some of my work on theseurbantimes.com. And as you mentioned, I have had a chance to attend some of the games, but they were both kind of as business. I haven't like formally went in as media yet. But the experience has been different, of course, with all the safety protocols that's taking place and downloading the Clear app to make sure you have no fever and things of that nature before entering the building. So it's been a bit different, but those are the times that we're living in today.
Let me ask you this, man. I kind of want to jump right into it a little bit. When we're looking at yesterday's game that took place against the Detroit Pistons, I think last team in the East, if you will, um, how much emphasis or weight do you feel like that particular loss holds? Because I feel like we've seen this same Atlanta Hawks team that has looked, obviously really good, significantly taking steps in the right direction and so forth, beating some good teams. I think Milwaukee may have been one of those not too long ago, amongst some others. But then this happens with Detroit. I want to get your take a little bit on how much weight that a loss like that could potentially hold for a team like this in the 100-86 loss last night to the Motor City.
I think it's one of kind of those double edged swords, if it makes sense, because right now down the stretch, any loss is kind of pivotal as things are getting tighter and teams are trying to lock in position as far as seeding and playoff position is concerned. But with last night's game being the second of a back to back, with all the injuries in which the Hawks were already facing going into the game, and then suffering two injuries during the game. It was hard to see. It was hard to see any gain. It seemed like in which the Hawks kind of picked up while beating the Miami Heat and beating the Milwaukee Bucks. As of recently, it seems like that ground may have been lost last night. But I think as far as the locker room is concerned, I don't think a lot of the guys are kind of sweat last night's loss. But that loss could be key as it comes down to seeding in the next few weeks.
And that's what I was going to ask you about the seating and so forth, and what does yesterday's loss mean, and things like that. Because it's not only just a bad team, but obviously right now they're tied for fourth in the East with the New York Knicks, and just trying to kind of get that monkey off their back a little bit in terms of being considered like same old Hawks to an extent, if you will. But I want you to definitely talk a little bit about the injuries. I want to give the people a little bit of an update to an extent, because we did see um, Kevin Herter go down with an injury on yesterday. Maybe get you to expound on that a little bit. Saw Brandon Goodwin that was wheeled off. Talk about that, and maybe when we can expect some of the other guys, maybe like Trey Young, maybe and DeAndre Hunter, maybe even Cam Reddish and some of these other guys. When will they be expected to return back and be able to see the floor again?
As far as Brandon Goodwin and Kevin Herter are concerned, we're still kind of waiting on some reports for them. We could actually get them momentarily as we're sitting and speaking, quite honestly, with it being a 2 o'clock hour. Last night, however, Coach McMillan did say he expects Kevin to be okay. That from last night, he believed there's just a stinger. We still could cause him to miss a few games, but we won't know directly. Brandon, we still have to wait and see as well. Wishing the best for that young man. It did look like he rolled his ankle over kind of nasty last night. Of course, as you mentioned, was carted off in a wheelchair, something we don't see, on a regular basis. So prayers to him, and hopefully we won't see him out too long. As far as Trey Young and DeAndre Hunter, some of the other guys that are currently on the injured list, Travis Slink has given mention that we could possibly see Trey and DeAndre, before the week is out. Now, the Hawks have a pretty interesting schedule in the next 2 games. They'll be in Philadelphia for their next 2 games, taking on the 76ers. It's kind of one of those rare back-to-backs where they're on the road for 2 games playing against the same team. So they'll play the Sixers on Wednesday and Friday, I believe. Before coming back here to Atlanta and State Farm Arena. So we could see Trey and DeAndre. Not sure if it'll be that Friday game in Philly or once they get back here to the A. And we're still kind of waiting once again for word on Red Velvet and B Goody. But this Hawks roster can't catch a break as it seems. The injury bug has just been flying around State Farm Arena all season long.
Yeah, let me ask you about this, because I want to talk a little bit more too about some of those injuries. And my apologies for the adjustments that are made optically, but as it relates to the injuries, okay, because there was, like you said, the Lou Will situation. There was times we haven't seen Clint Capella, John Collins when Trey was actually able to play, and then when Trey is not playing, and you do see John Collins, and what are I guess we haven't really seen all season long between the regular players that were on this team coming back from last year, and then the players that were acquired in free agency, and the players that were traded for. We haven't seen this whole group cohesively as a unit playing together all at the same time. What do you think that this particular team looks like in the event that we do get a chance to, hopefully, fingers crossed, toes crossed, eyes crossed, and everything else, that we will have a chance to see that at the perfect time in the playoffs? Break down to me what you think that team will look like. And I guess this is a kind of a 2-part question, which is a huge media no-no, but I'm going to do it anyways because I think that you're equipped enough to handle it. So between that and how much emphasis are you really putting on injuries? Because I asked quite a few people this, where you have these injuries, and it's like when you lose those games, like, we injure, man. That injury stuff, man. We not 100%. But then you win those games while you still have some of those injuries, like, and we winning with injuries. And what? You know what I mean? It's kind of like that double-edged sword that you were just talking about. Can you break those couple things down to me, please?
Yeah. Okay. So as far as the first question is, the latter question was concerned about how much stock in injuries and things. I think it depends on who is injured. Quite honestly, and what that role is that that player serves on your team. So just to say, take it to another team. We take it to the Lakers with LeBron being injured. That's a key injury. You know, like we wouldn't look the same as if no disrespect to his game or nothing like that. But if a KCP was injured or a Kyle Kuzma, it doesn't have the same effect because their impact isn't the same on the Lakers. Similar here with the Hawks. Trae Young is our kind of engine starter. He keeps the train moving and whatnot. With him being injured, that's pivotal. Per se, is somebody further down the roster, maybe like a Bruno, someone who doesn't get a lot of minutes and their impact isn't as key. Then to the first part of your question, I think this Hawks team, man, it's so funny because we're about to enter the playoffs. We've damn near had a full season of NBA basketball, and we're still projecting and assuming because we haven't had the opportunity this season to, as you mentioned, see this Hawks roster at its full strength. This league is a league where we see stars win, and the Hawks aren't maybe top heavy as far as household names are concerned or stars are concerned. Of course, Trae Young his star is still rising in the NBA. He may not be an everyday name like the LeBron James or the Kevin Durant. I think it's kind of just sexy or attractive to say, the Brooklyn Nets are going to do their thing or something like a top heavy team like that. But this Hawks team, man, at full capacity without injuries, I really, really think can make some noise and possibly push the Sixers, Bucks, or Nets in a playoff series because they are loaded. You can make an argument that just per se, whatever 5 starters you want to put out there on the floor for the Atlanta Hawks, that there are bench players that you have at least 2 to 3 players coming off of their bench, whether it be a Gallinari, a Lou Williams. We don't know how the bench is going to shape out, if they're going to put Herter in the mix, if they're going to put Hunter in the mix. Some of those guys can start legitimately on an NBA roster. So it's going to be very interesting. I think the Hawks, though, I think where they are right now is possibly that 4th seed in the East. Pretty much speaks to where they are with their roster. Not having you look at the Bucks, they have 2 stars, you could say, in Giannis and Drew Holiday. You look at the Sixers, they have 2 stars, you could say, with Embiid and Simmons. With the Nets, they have multiple stars, but you can pick any 2. You can say Durant and Harden, Durant and Irvin and Harden. With the Hawks, once again, you just we have Trae Young, and we have a lot of talented players after that. But those talented players are damn talented, man. So I do think projecting once again, I think this Hawks team can be very, very, very scary in the postseason, and they can push any of those 3 teams in the East to the limit.
I'm glad you said that. That makes a good point because everybody loves to talk about what all these other teams have in terms of, well, this many, all-star players or 2 or 3, superstar players. But one thing that I don't think a lot of these other teams have that the Hawks do have, to your point, they have a lot of flexibility between guys that can play multiple positions where you have your Herders and your Hunters and your, Reddishes or whatnot. That can, play 2 or 3 different positions. I guess somebody like a Hunter can play a 2, a 3, and a 4 in some cases. And just, your John Collins who can maybe fluctuate between 4 and 5 occasionally and things like that. And so maybe even, getting some instances where I don't know if it's the most ideal, but in the event, much like he does on the second unit, Lou will, in the event that there are situations where it's situational, maybe if he's playing some point, give Trae a little bit of some time off of the ball and things like that. So I think that it all definitely makes sense. Got my dude, man, Terrell Thomas in here joining us. Content creator, sports and entertainment reporter. Mr. Everything is pretty much what I like to call dude. He's all over the place, man. Make sure you follow this dude because when news is breaking, and y'all know how I am. I'm just kind of like the basketball dude, but like when news is breaking, sports, entertainment, music, like you name it, my dude be on his stuff, man. Like you know what I'm saying? Like it's inspiring. It's very inspiring even for me. So y'all make sure that y'all go and check my dude out on the social, and y'all can thank me for that a little bit later. Let's go over now to let's see where we're gonna go with this. How about this? Perfect. Atlanta Hawks now 34-28 on the season. That's over a. I can't tell you too many times that we can say like the Atlanta Hawks above 500, almost about to enter playoffs type of deal. But that's happening. 54% winning percentage. It should say one loss in terms of their streak. Not sure why it says one win, but it should be one loss from Detroit last night. 7-3 in their last 10, first in the Southeast Division, tied for fourth in the East with the Knicks, and tied for 10th in the NBA with the Knicks. How surprising are just all of those statistics, all on that bottom ticker right there? How surprising is that? Like, did you think that we realistically, like, this camera ain't even on? It's not about bashing or praising Hawks. I know you only keep it 110% thorough and organic. Like, when you were looking at this Hawks team, tell me what you saw from them last year, like your expectations entering the year, where a lot of people's expectations were like sky high and through the roof. And then compare that to the effect that how they finished had on how you would view them this year entering the season, in terms of how you would see them around this time of the year, if that made any kind of sense, which it probably didn't.
Yeah, no. So last year, of course, with the Atlanta Hawks not being able to enter the bubble, their season pretty much ended in March. So it was so many question marks that were out there, so many things that were unknown. Once we saw kind of the moves in which Travis made in the drafts and the moves in which he made in free agency, I was kind of eager to see how things pieced out. But I initially thought, I said, okay, the Hawks are going to make the playoffs this year. We know very well from numerous occasions sitting in on Hawks meetings and things that both Tony Ressler, the Hawks owner, as well as Travis Slinks, Hawk president and GM, they both want to win. We have heard that over and over. And they don't just want to win, they want to win a championship. Their expectation here is to bring a championship to Atlanta, to create that championship culture. And it's been some years, as you mentioned. It started off. It's been a long time since we've been able to say the Atlanta Hawks are over 500. But I did believe. I said to myself, okay, well, the Hawks are with the mission in which the leadership and the ownership wants, with the pieces in which they're putting together, and kind of just looking at the trajectory of another year in the trades belt, things like. I thought the Hawks were going to surely be a playoff team, and I kind of had them positioned at number 6. I had a lot of people hearing they'll be like, oh, they're just going to creep in as the 8. I didn't believe they would be 8. I didn't look them as being. I said they'll be the 6th seed in the East, maybe win in the first round and possibly be a second round exit. Kind of still learning, but we'll see some progress. I'd be lying to you if I said that they would be the 4th seed in the East. And honestly, I could easily see them being the 3rd seed right now. Like I didn't see that coming into the season at all, so I won't say that, especially with the injury. Like, because when we mention this team, we have to mention the injuries because and I think this is something that'll be examined down the line. I don't know, man. I don't know if we've seen a team in sports history that has been hindered in one season by injuries like we've seen this team. Like it doesn't make sense. It really does not make sense from the way, Chris Dunn, we just saw his debut last night. It's about 12 games left in the season, and we're just seeing a player's debut who was picked up onto the roster in the offseason. So with the coaching change, as you know, I was a big fan of Coach Pierce, and I wish nothing but the best for him in the future. Unfortunately, we weren't able to see the results on the court the way that we wanted to as fans, as media, as Hawk supporters, however you want to put it. But what Nate McMillan has done, what Coach McMillan has done, I didn't see that. Like I'd be lying if I say, yeah, hey, I thought this Hawks team, on paper, like I said, I thought they had the talent to be at least the 6th seed, that they may be competing for the 6th or 7th seed. So no, I didn't. The numbers that are on this board right now, and not even the Hawks. Shoot, you said tied for 10th with the Knicks. I don't think I would have seen that. Tied for 4th in the East with the Knicks and 10th overall. I don't think I would have seen that. So no, I don't think I would have seen anything about what this young Hawks team is doing right now. Couldn't predict it. No, sir, not at all.
I want to do this, man, because I've got so many different questions, and what I want to do is I want to package them all up into a particular segment that we have, and I think that we went through this with you on the last time, kind of like a somewhat rapid fire type ish. So this is the first time I want to be able to say that in terms of this sponsorship, which is sponsoring the segment called Quick Release. Of course, we got Terrell Thomas joining us, the powered and sponsored by Exotics by Curtis Smith. Make sure that you're looking good, feeling good, playing great, and then you can see the website there at the bottom, exoticsproducts.com. And then the discount code Tate's Take. Put the discount code Tate's Take in there to get your 15% right at the checkout. So a little bit more elaboration on that on the back end after we get Terrell off. But while he's still on, let's make sure that we don't have him in here yawning, and let's get to some of these questions that let's get to some of these questions that I got from my dude, man. So here's what's up next. And I want to make sure that this is like perfect time because I'm like, man, I really hope I can get Terrell. Like people like, what's next? What's up next? And I'm like, I want to get Terrell on Tuesday because he's a native of Philadelphia. These are two really, really important games that the Hawks got coming up next. One of them on tomorrow, and they're essentially back-to-back meetings with the same team, but not back-to-back games per se. And then, of course, after that on Friday, also over the weekend, in which would be considered a back-to-back on Saturday against Chicago on a homestand, who's currently 11th in the East, who's realistically, this is a Chicago team that now that 10 teams can be considered a playoffs at this point. This is a win that they desperately need, just probably as much as the Hawks, trying to do a good job at making sure that they don't overlook the Bulls. Give me some of your keys to victory against Philadelphia for tomorrow's game on Wednesday, and how urgent you believe it is that they need to split one of those meetings.
I think it's very urgent that they split. They have to split one, just kind of as we spoke on several times so far. As we're moving closer to the playoffs, you kind of want to make a statement as well with other elite teams who you could have the possibility of seeing and facing in the playoffs again. The Sixers right now are second in the East, as mentioned, so they're a top tier team, and they're looking to finally get over the hump and possibly represent the Eastern Conference in the NBA Finals. So the Hawks want to make a statement. I think it'll be key, especially with their loss on Monday night to Detroit. They don't want to fall too far back because I believe it's 7-10 that'll play in the game. And when you're talking about that will play kind of in those play-in games, and it's not a lot of space between 4 and 7. The Hawks could lose 2 games, and next thing you know, they're dropping to number 6 and number 7, and they're borderline playing in the play-in tournament and whatnot. So I think it'll be very key. This week is big for the Hawks. The 2 games versus the Sixers, then that back-to-back game that'll take place on Saturday against the Bulls. As you asked for some keys to the game, I think the play of Clint Capella will be key. Can he contain or slow down NBA MVP candidate Joel Embiid? I think Joel Embiid has been playing the best basketball of his career. I know he's missed a few games, but I think personally, if I had a vote, I would vote for him or Steph Curry for the MVP right now. I think Joel may have just missed a few games that may kind of haunt or hinder that MVP campaign, but he's playing phenomenal. Ben Simmons just returned to the Sixers lineup after missing a few games due to the flu. So he'll be looking to get back into the swing of things. And with the Hawks not having Trae Young out there, I think, however, Clint Capella is able to kind of control, contain Embiid in the paint will be very key. So I'm going to go with the matchup of the big men in the paint for my key to the games on Wednesday and Friday.
Give me a little bit of a prediction or a projection on how you believe that this Hawks team will fare in the next 3 games. Is that a 0-3, which we certainly hope not? Is that a 3-0, which I feel like is being extremely generous? 2-1, 1-2. What says you, Terrell Thomas?
I'm gonna go 2-1. Of course, I never want to throw a prediction out there of a loss for the Hawks. I want them to win every game, but I think if they're going to lose a game, I think it's going to be tomorrow, Wednesday's game. And only reason I say that, one, Philly's at home, so they're waiting on Atlanta. Atlanta traveled to Philly last night. They had a day to rest today, of course. They'll meet the Sixers tomorrow. We just still don't know what their roster will actually look like who will be healthy and able to play. That's why I'm gonna go with a possible loss tomorrow. Then by Friday, having a few more guys possibly back in the lineup. Lou Will possibly back in the lineup. Maybe Trey and DeAndre, as we mentioned, back in the lineup. Of course, we'll have more certainty on the injuries that Kevin Huerter and B. Goody face. We'll just kind of have a little more certainty on how the rotation and the lineup will look on Friday. And I think on Saturday, once they're back home, I think they'll also be looking to continue to keep pushing. And I think they'll understand that Chicago needs the game just as bad as they do, and they'll go ahead and get a win. So as you mentioned, 3-0 in a perfect world will be what I would love to see. But I'm gonna go 2-1 with them losing on Wednesday and then going on a 2-game winning streak over the weekend.
This is what things look like currently when it comes to the Eastern Conference and NBA playoffs and what it would look like in the event that it started on today. Worst case scenarios, best case scenarios for the Hawks in terms of seeding, just based on what this looked like if it started today. Where do you think that if you were the Atlanta Hawks, how things guess in this case they would be considered what, a tie for four? So technically they would be what, a five seed? Does New York have the upper hand when it comes to the tiebreaker?
Yeah.
So either way, it's still a 4 versus 5 matchup. Maybe your thoughts on what that matchup could look like, and even if things did shake up a little bit, uh, where do you believe that the Atlanta Hawks would have the best case scenario in a matchup in the playoffs versus their worst?
Uh, the best case scenario, I do like that 4 or 5 matchup between the Knicks. Two kind of inexperienced teams, if that makes sense. Like the Knicks don't have too many veterans on it. Derrick Rose, of course, but too many vets that will help give them the upper hand as far as postseason experience is concerned. So I think that could also help the Hawks. They seem to match up very well, although Julius Randle has been a problem for the Hawks this season. And the next 2 matchups against the Hawks, Julius Randle has pretty much put on his big boy pants and went out there and went to work. So I think that would kind of be something to watch. But I think in the first round, the Knicks possibly would be that best scenario. And I wouldn't mind seeing the Hawks move up to 3 and possibly having to take on Boston. Boston hasn't been the same. It's not the same Celtics team. I'm trying to figure out though. Are they just are they trying to play us right now? Kind of packing in into the playoffs, and they're gonna turn it on into another level or something like that. Um, they do also have that experience in which the Hawks do not have, whether it's Kemba, Jalen, or Jason. All those young cats have that playoff experience. So I will watch out for a team like Boston, but if they stick to where they are right now, that 4 or 5 position, and have to take on the Knicks, I like the way that the Hawks were favoring that matchup.
Just a couple more minutes, a couple more questions. Terrell Thomas joining us here for episode 75. Now you can see why, because he's a Philly native. I said it probably would have made more sense to get him on for episode 76. But nonetheless, we definitely thankful, overly grateful that he has the opportunity to join us. You're relatively and fairly close to my knowledge, anyways, to a player like Lou Williams, who's the most recent addition and piece to this team. What have you seen in terms of the benefits from having somebody like Lou, and just what has been different about this? I'm sorry, yeah, what has been different about this team since adding Lou that maybe we didn't see when there was a Rajon Rondo, or that we didn't see last season or before he got here in general, despite any other player compared? What has been the difference making things that you've seen out of bringing him back home to Atlanta once again, where he's from?
It's rare in sports, period, where you see a trade in which both teams win, or a scenario in which both teams, get the best result. I feel like the Clippers felt like they needed a point general, a point guard out there who could really quarterback the team in the postseason. And they had that in Rajon Rondo. Well, of course, we haven't seen too much of what he's going to do for the Clippers in the regular season, but I think they're also kind of like trying to save their secret weapon for the postseason. And similar here with the Atlanta Hawks. Lou Williams is a very unique talent. Of course, he's very popular in the NBA. Some people call him like your favorite player, and X, Y, and Z. But I think it's overlooked upon what all he brings to a team. Of course, he's won the Sixth Man of the Year award multiple times. So we know about his scoring prowess or scoring impact off the bench. But not only is Lou Will a great scoring guard, a great shooting guard, he also understands the game. He has a very high basketball IQ. So he can play the distributor when it's time to play the point guard if necessary. What I've enjoyed seeing off the bench so far from Lou has been that pick and roll in which we've seen with Lou and Gallinari when Gallo's been on the court. The two-man game in which we've seen from Lou and Bogey, where Lou and Bogey exploded the other night here at State Farm Arena. Lou Will just has an impact in the locker room and on the court in which they needed another scorer for sure. With all the injuries that were taking place, of course, Bogey was injured early in the year, so we weren't able to see how great of a scorer he is. They needed another scorer. They needed someone who they could put the ball in his hands and kind of like let Trae Young and all of that is what Lou has brought to this team. Sure. It's kind of hard walking the line of a media member and like having cats and wizards you're cool with. But I was ecstatic, of course, when I found out Lou was coming to Atlanta. I was ecstatic for many reasons because I thought initially that he could help the team. Like I thought there was a glare in which they needed another scorer. And as you mentioned, he's a hometown native of the Atlanta area of Gwinnett. So it's dope to see that young man have an opportunity to come back and play in front of friends and family, especially when the Hawks are on an upward trajectory. It's not the same old Hawks as you mentioned. So with him having an opportunity to help them succeed, I thought that was great. I like what he kind of mentioned post game a few games ago about he was kind of not lackadaisical. I don't want to say that, but he was playing more of a point guard role. He wasn't looking to score as much. And he said, Coach McMillan told him, "Hey, we brought you here to score. That's what you do. Like get out there and get busy." He's been able to do that. So I've been very impressed with everything that Lou has brought to this team. I think we'll see I think we'll see the best of what Lou can bring to this team once the postseason gets here, though.
2 to 3 real quick last questions for you. Entering the postseason, okay, or even just between now and the postseason starting, whichever. What is the biggest area of emphasis you think that should be the Hawks' primary focus as they get ready to try and prepare for a run?
Man, if I'm going to be honest with you, and it's kind of messed up, I don't know how much if they'll really be in position to do so. I think the Hawks' main focus right now should be health. And getting everyone healthy and actually possibly being able to put out that preseason projected roster on the floor for the postseason. I know that'll be hard because us as fans and as media members, we hate when we see players sit out games when we know, it's like, oh, the team scheduled this sit out. Ain't nothing wrong with this person or that person. So we don't necessarily want to see them, having players sit out games. And I also think that it could be detrimental to having players sit out games as far as with the seeding race being as close as it is. They could play around and have a few players sit out a few games. Those games turn into losses. And as we mentioned a couple moments ago, that now they're in the playoff seeding rounds and whatnot. They're in those playing rounds. So I think health should be a key because you want your team to continue. It seems like they're gelling. It seems like they're beginning to really form chemistry on and off the court. So you don't want to mess that up any more than it already can be or has become due to injury. So I would say health, man. I would say health. Staying healthy would probably be their key focus to me.
Let's turn the page over to this right here. Not in comparison to what we thought they should have been a year ago. Not in comparison. Not even adding necessarily. I guess we could take the injuries and so forth into account, but just really not comparing it to anything, just based on the play that we've seen this year. What kind of a letter grade up to this point do you feel most comfortable saying that you would give the Hawks for this year?
All right, here's my bias homer grade.
Here we go. I knew my boy was gonna pull it out.
but in all honesty, man.
I was gonna say, and my bad, I didn't mean to cut you off. And I was gonna say outside of that grade, and tell me why you gave that grade. By the way,
in all honesty, man, it's kind of hard being able to watch the ins and outs of the Atlanta Hawks right now. It's kind of hard to not get these guys an A. It really is kind of hard to get them, not to get them an A, and not to give them an A plus. We have to look at the adversity, like all of those things matter in my opinion. Like all of those things, make up a season, make up like the adversity in which the team faces. We talked about that in 2020. Oh, the Lakers are the champions, and all the adversity of going into the bubble, or oh, the Tampa Bay Buccaneers are the champions, and the adversity of having a quarterback for the first year. And like adversity is key in sports. But then we have to look at the injuries in which this team has faced. If we're going to look at adversity, we have to look at a coaching change mid-season.
No doubt.
In a season in which there's only 72 games being played. So it's a lot of adversity in which our Hawks have faced, and they keep showing up to that and meeting the challenge full on. So I honestly would give them an A. And to what I said to you earlier, I projected in the beginning of this with a healthy roster, with everyone out there, I projected them to be 6. I have yet to see a healthy roster, and they're currently sitting at 4. I have to acknowledge that and tip my cap to that. So I would give the Hawks an A right now. They're right now I would just keep it at an A. They're borderline an A plus. But once again, with all the adversity in which we've seen, new members on the roster, players being hurt, the coaching change, the 72 game season, them being vaccinated. Let's go ahead and throw that out there. Shit, I mean, like
back to backs.
They're one of the
playing without fans. Yeah.
I would have to give the Hawks in that organization an A right now.
For sure. Not even to mention having to get some of those acquired players through trades and free agency on the same page so quickly, because those are very key pieces for this team. Last but certainly not least, as we get ready to get you up out of here, bro. Talk about what's up next on the in terms of projects and things that you're working on. Like I said, you got your ears to the streets, man. You're all over the place all the time. Make sure you give them a follow. I'm sure you're gonna throw the social media out there. Once again, the handle and so forth on where to follow you. Go ahead and feel free to plug away. But I'm just curious as to what different projects and so forth that you got coming up next.
Well, of course, we're getting ready for the NBA postseason, so I'm looking forward to that, gearing up, praying and seeing how things are going to shape out. Will we be back in the building for the playoffs and things of that nature? So I'm anxious to see how that all unfolds. And just the world of sports, not necessarily NBA. The NFL draft is this week, so I'm definitely anticipating that. Looking forward to see how things shape out. That'll be a full week of coverage right there. Doing some things that you mentioned with Lou Williams. If you have an opportunity, please check out a record label, Winners United. Artist Keem Ali, aka Kimi Casanova. He's making a lot of noise virtually. So continuing to push him and keep things going that way, and continuing to build and brand these urban times. Continuing to get that brand out there, get our message out there, and continue to try to break and present as much exclusive content and urban content as possible, man. It's always phenomenal to sit and talk with you, man. Like you're a cat I got a lot of love for. It started in the arenas. We're gonna always laugh. I think as we get older,
don't forget about our trip to Utah.
We're gonna tell our grandkids about Salt Lake City and our experience in Utah. But that's those few days was something that I'll never forget as well. And you, good sir, like you're one of the few men out here who I respect your mind so much, dog. Like you teach me a lot. The game of basketball, not just on a professional level. Shoot, if there's a young cat out there in second grade right now with a jump shot who's got a chance, Deshaun gonna let us know. Yeah, you're gonna let us know. And I have the utmost respect to how you continue to create content, inform us. And once again, on all levels of basketball, not just the NBA, college basketball, high school basketball, AAU basketball, and so on, man. So I'll be continuing to be tuned in and stay abrupt to what you present and what you have going on.
No, I appreciate that. You might have oversold it a little bit. So the check's in the mail, bro, but don't cash it yet, because I don't want that boy to bounce on you, bro. No, I do. I appreciate the acknowledgement and just the recognition, just the kind gestures and the compliments all across the board, man. I really mean that, and I do thank you very much, man. We're gonna get you up out of here before you make me cry. That's my boy Terrell Thomas right there, content creator, sports reporter, entertainment. music, man. My dude be all over the place. I'm meeting people out in LA, and we both finding out that we got mutual friend, Terrell Thomas. And I go to another place, and it's like, yo, Terrell Thomas, my boy Tall Boy. Shout out to Tall Boy.
Shout out to Tall
Tall
Boy.
Boy is like, yo, I'm like, yo, everywhere I go, like folks is like treating me out to like have nice adult beverages and decent little finger foods to eat, man, just off the strip of my boy Terrell Thomas, man. So that's always appreciated, man. Overly grateful and
All
thankful
love.
that you're able to join us, bro. And just keep going. And again, I know that Terrell is one of the people that is heavily influencing the support Black media movements, along with Nick Hamilton, who I met in LA, and I definitely want to do a better job at getting behind that as well. So just he's one of the people that's just constantly, consistently, and persistently pushing the movement, man, supporting Black media business. So don't just talk about it, because we know y'all out there. Everybody right now, that's the wave. That's the thing to talk about is, supporting the Black businesses and supporting the Black media and so forth. But I see y'all out there that's doing it and that ain't doing it too. So definitely want to just go ahead and throw that out there. So just support, man. It's always a beautiful thing, man. Double T, appreciate you, bro, for joining us for episode 75. And we're going to have to do this again, perhaps sometimes when we start talking about the Hawks in the playoffs for the Hawk Talk segment.
Much love, man. Thank you once again for sharing your platform with me.
Of course, absolutely. That's my dude, Terrell Thomas. Y'all make sure y'all go and give my boy a follow, man. Because, like, my dude be, like, all over the place. He doing it. Like, he's making things happen. And he's just a super cool dude. For those of you who were not aware before, I did have the opportunity for my first time ever to go to Salt Lake City, Utah, and kind of kick it with my boy for a little while out in Utah. And I will be okay if I never have to go to Salt Lake City, Utah again. But always meeting people who's familiar with Eric Woodyer. There goes another guy. So appreciate him over at ESPN as well, who kind of connected us too. So I'll say this in closing, as I definitely alluded to it before, but I want to make sure I do my part. And we're going to talk about this a little bit more. Make sure that you guys are going to pick up these products, man. These are 110% all natural products. Here's one of them, and I know that the lighting is kind of messing things up a little bit, but this is particularly the blue water wake up and stringent facial spray. Makes me feel outstanding in the morning. Getting out of the shower, just washing my face and so forth. A couple little sprays of this on the face, not too close because I don't want it to blind you, but just a little bit across the face. Leave a nice little shine, leaves a nice little, very clean and crisp, I guess you can say, feel to the skin and so forth, man. Just really good energy in a bottle and in a product in general, man. This is very, very inexpensive. And I'll tell you guys where you can go and get this stuff here in a second. But definitely, as you can see there at the bottom of the screen on the ticker, some of the different options that are provided. Now, I must warn you, this is stuff that in these products is going to, restore a lot of energy, positive energy, if you will, and just tons of confidence. I've even been able to notice the difference in my skin, particularly. And I don't just put anything on my skin, So when we do start talking about some of the substitutions for alcohol that is, for maybe different lotions and so forth, um, and acne restoration for just the skin in general. It's definitely eczema, all those things that I help with all those things. I want to throw out another product because these two are just particularly my favorite, man. These are the blue water, and of course the sweet Jamila is always like a huge fan favorite. Smells outstanding. I'm telling you, like it sells itself. Feel free to go on the website. Let me pull the website up for you guys so that you can see once again one more time, so you can see exactly where to locate some of these products. I'm even going to help you guys get a little percentage off as well. So there it is. Want to make sure you guys remember, this is like taking health is wealth to a whole nother level. Look good, feel good, play great. Exoticsproducts.com. Xotics. Don't just take my word for it. Try it out. I wish one thing that I could do for you guys is is I wish that I had the power, and that's essentially kind of what it looks like. I know that the lighting is kind of messed up a little bit. Smells outstanding, trust me. Listen, I wish that I was able to tell you guys to go and pick up some of these products. Grooming products essentially is what it is. Makes very good gifts for just because. Very good gifts as well. For Father's Day coming up, works well on for women as well, and stuff like that. All 110% natural with no chemicals. All 110% natural. So just makes really good gifts, really good gifts. And I wish I could be able to have you guys go and purchase some of these products and guarantee you that if you don't like it, you could throw it away, you can give it to somebody else, do whatever you want to do with it, and I'll be able to reimburse your money. I'm not quite in that position just yet, but that's just where my mind is for right now. Trust me, go to exoticsproducts.com. Hit them with the discount code right before checkout. Tate's Take, Tates. You see it right there at the bottom. Take. Get your 15% off. Make sure that you thank me later. I know people are like, dude, you're like talking my ear off right now, but it's for a great reason, a great purpose. Take care of your skin. Give it what it deserves, if you will. Let's finally go out and do the right thing. Supporting black businesses is what we're talking about here. So, of course, that even helps me out on the side a little bit. And guess what? I even got something else really super cool and awesome right here. By the way, you'll never use all this Dove Men's Plus Care and bar soaps and all this different Axe sprays and so forth, all this stuff. Hey, listen, Sweet Jamila, even very good as well for using it as a substitution for sunscreen without all those chemicals in it and everything else. I'm telling you, man, this stuff is outstanding. Who can't use hand sanitizer right now? Very, very inexpensive products right here. So y'all go ahead and check those out as we get ready to get up out of here. But make sure that you go. You see the logo right there in the top right-hand corner. Exotics products. Go at Exotics on Instagram as well, so that you can go and check out some of the different testimonials and so forth that people have. At Tate's Take Hoops on the Twitter. TATES TAKEHOOPS. You know that that's where basketball lives. Again, thanks to Terrell Thomas for coming through and joining us, blessing us, and gracing us with with his knowledge and his expertise on the Atlanta Hawks. Remember to go and give him a follow. And make sure that you tell a friend to tell a friend. Tell your friends, tell your enemies, tell your mama, tell your grandmama, tell your baby mama, where they can always find the best, the most entertaining, the most educational, and the most informational basketball content on the planet in the form of a podcast. It's called Tate's Take, episode 75. Signing off. Deshaun Tate with Tate's Take. We'll be back to join us on Thursday, I believe that it is, where we will have Jermaine Jones from the University of Georgia, formerly of the Philadelphia 76ers, and my dude D.A. Lane. Both guys played at University of Georgia. Going to talk a little bit about some of their businesses that they have going on and so forth, and what they're doing in their communities to kind of assist and help people out in the times of need of COVID right now, amongst other things, including a little bit of talk about Georgia basketball and maybe some more Atlanta Hawks. I don't know. We'll see. So we'll talk to you guys then. That's going to be taking place, I believe, at 4 o'clock on Thursday. So keep your eyes and your ears open for episode 76 with D.A. Lane and Jermaine Jones. Appreciate you guys for watching. Thanks. Bye.